The freeze response is an evolutionary holdover from a previous age. There was a great stretch of human history where our greatest enemies didn't have the visual equipment to see color as well as they could see movement. And so there were probably many times where people lived long enough to pass on their genetic material because they froze when a big cat jumped out of a bush or whatever. So there was a time when it was a good thing, but now our biggest threat is from other humans, so it's not a very good thing anymore. When you want to understand what does the freeze feel like, or how will you know that you're experiencing the freeze, it doesn't feel like anything at all. And that's the bad thing. When there are a lot of bad things going on around you, when there's a crisis going on and you're not moving and you're just standing there watching it like it's on a television, you are frozen, and that's not a good thing. You're going to need to get yourself moving again. In his book, Facing Violence, Rory Miller listed several different types of freezes. He pointed out that there are people who will freeze on purpose. Perhaps law enforcement officers sneaking into a place, or a soldier not wanting to get noticed by the enemy, hears a sound, freeze for a moment and wait and see what's going on. If you're not moving, you're not quite as noticeable. So this is a good thing, especially when you're in control of all your mental faculties at the time. If you're doing it by accident, that's when things get bad. The main type of freeze that we want to focus on here is the one that happens to you. We've heard people talk about fight or flight. I've read other books where people mention fight, flight, or freeze. There are other books where they add a couple more: posture and submit. All of these are variations of survival reflexes. And so when your body is switching into survival mode, it is possible, and it's plausible to me, that your body, while it's switching gears, there is a pause and you're not doing anything. And some people tend to get stuck in that pause. But it's also possible to freeze when you have too many choices. Again, this is where those people with the one move self-defense will come back to and say, out of the OODA of the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act. They take the D, the decide, and they say, we're going to limit this down to one choice so you don't have to think. You've got one reflex option. But if that reflex option doesn't work, then you're going to go into a tactical fixation where you keep trying to do that same thing over and over and over again, and it's still not going to work. So that's a bad plan. And then there's the possibility that you freeze just because you flat don't know what to do. When you slip out of the cool centers into the hot centers of your brain, and you're functioning down here, but the puppy brain or the monkey brain really doesn't know what you're supposed to do. It has no experience with this type of situation. You're going to freeze. You're going to be stuck. This one is not under your control. The freeze response happens to everyone in varying degrees, but it happens to everyone. So know that it exists and find ways to work around it or to minimize it.